Hello everyone, this is Charles McNeely with DevDoc Theater, and I am honored and it's such a pleasure to be here with Mr. Elton Bonsall Jr. here in, what would you call this, Mr. Elton? Is this Lake Charles, Homewood, Iowa? Where are we?
Probably Homewood, more than anything. The address is Iowa, but this is Homewood.
Gotcha, yeah. It's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting.
No problem. Glad you came.
We're here to talk about Mr. Elton's Hurricane Audrey experience. So my first question is the usual: how old were you whenever Audrey hit?
Well, I was 10 years old.
And so where did you live in Cameron Parish?
Well, I lived in East Creole, about 2 miles from the crossroads.
So what can you tell me life before Audrey? What was that like?
Well, I grew up with my uncles and grandma at their house. My daddy and mom was down the road there a piece. I remember the day before the storm, I was riding a horse, and I remember how hot it was, kind of like it is now. Extremely hot. That's pretty much all I can remember.
And what school did you go to whenever at 10 years old?
I was going to Creole High, a wooden school right down the road. After Audrey, I went to South Cameron.
Do you remember what your aunt and uncle and other people were doing to prepare for Audrey?
We actually thought that the storm was going to hit later than what it did. You know, a day or so later, but yes, it did.
No, it sped up and got there a little early. What's the first thing you remember that told you, you know, this is going to be a difficult time?
My dad kept on going in the car and trying to get the news, and then finally you could see the water coming. So he got us out of the wash house and we went into the house itself. I remember walking, couldn't hardly walk, the wind was so strong. You had to be bent over to not get pushed back.
So the wind got there before the water, or were you walking through water and wind?
We left before the water got there. As soon as we got to the house, it started coming in real quick.
But the wind was definitely blowing hard to the point that you had to bend over.
Yes, to walk. Yeah.
When y'all got to the house, what happened?
The water started coming in, and that 10-foot ceiling, they had an ice box, chest-type ice box. We got on there, and they had a hole in the attic, you know. So we all got up in that attic, off that ice box and into the attic.
And how many people were in the house with you?
There's 6 of us.
So your parents were there, and your aunt and uncle?
2 uncles and grandma.
Got you. Any more kids, or were you the only one?
I was the only kid, boy.
So all adults there except for you, and y'all got into the attic. What do you remember about being up there?
After a while, Mom and Grandma was just steady doing the rosary, praying, and the house started moving, and the roof, the center of the roof was coming off. It was opening up and closing, a crack. My uncle found a 2x6 or something. He stood it up. When the roof came down, it didn't come down on us. On the other end of the house was a kitchen that was added on later on, and it was still there intact. So we crawled through the roof and got into the kitchen that was added on after.
So the roof in the attic was going up and down and moving, so y'all got into the kitchen?
Yes, sir. The house disintegrated. It was coming apart as we got in the kitchen, but we were safe there. I mean, for the time. It was added on later, and it was probably better built, you know, stronger. Yes, sir.
In the kitchen, did y'all stay there until the end, or what happened in the kitchen while y'all were there? Did the water rise?
Yeah, the water was already up there. The kitchen started floating off. It floated probably a couple hundred yards from where it was at. It hit some trees. It had some cedar trees, soft cedar trees. As we got to them, one of my uncles jumped out into a tree. He was able to get a hold of a branch and pull himself up in the tree. We stayed in the attic. You couldn't get out because they had overhang. I mean, you couldn't get on the roof. So the building actually got jammed between 2 trees, 2 cedar trees. Now we couldn't get out because of the overhang. My dad laid on his back and kicked a hole in the roof. so we could get up on top of the roof, and then from there we got the trees. I had Mama, my uncle, and my grandma. She got in one tree, and my dad and I, we got in the other tree. The tree, the one that tall, but the waves were washing over the trees, about halfway the trees up. We had to hold on to the branches so we wouldn't get washed off. Yeah. I remember it must have been the hottest pass or something, because I remember I was walking on the roof back and forth, and it was calm that time. Well, my dad and them just told me to get down, but anyway, we got in the tree, and my dad had my back against the tree, and he was holding me, because the waves were actually washing over us. We wasn't high enough to get out of everything. We stayed there from about maybe 8, 9 o'clock that morning. And we stayed there all that night. And the next morning, my uncle and dad was spotted a wall or something. And they went, got it, and brought it so myself and my grandma could get it on it. They had probably a chest high of water. And they brought us to the ridge where it was high. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. We went to the neighbors. Their house was still there. And then we ate something there, some canned goods. We got a ride in the Army's duck. They picked us up.
Absolutely.
Bought the Creole. And from there, we went to McNeese.
The rodeo arena on the McNeese campus, and that's where y'all were, all the cots and the beds and stuff. And okay.
And then we met some guy that came and took us to his house.
Wow.
And we gave some clothes. I mean, we took a bat and gave.
Do you remember his name by any chance?
I don't remember his name, but they had a bar called the Blue Moon.
Yes.
And he owned that bar.
Okay, the owner of the Blue Moon Bar, okay.
I don't think it's there no more, but.
No, it's not, yeah. And he took y'all, got y'all some clothes.
But my daddy had a guy that had a cell barn down in Gillis. He had a house there with nobody living in it. So we moved into that house for 3 months, I guess, while we were rebuilding the house in Creole. My dad would drive back and forth to work on the house.
Okay, and so y'all rebuilt in Creole, East Creole, and moved back there.
We built the first house. The first house was identical to the second house. But the first house, we all stayed in it while he built my grandma and uncle's house. And then when they got it built, while they moved there, then we stayed in the first house that he built. He was a carpenter.
He knew what he was doing.
Exactly.
No one, everybody made it, right?
Yes, sir, everybody made it.
Okay, and that's, I guess my last question would be, what did you learn from that experience? What were the lessons, or the biggest lesson that you learned from going through AUDREY?
One thing we learned is to get out when the storm comes. And just so happened that the storm here, we didn't know exactly where it was going to hit at and when it was going to hit. So that's why we hung around there. When the water came up, there wasn't no way out.
Do you feel like it made you stronger or smarter in some way, or?
Well, I don't think smarter, but got a lot of experience through that, you know.
Experience means a lot, yeah.
Later on, we started having radar. We could detect the storm where it was at, you know, but at first we didn't have that. Probably would have got out if we'd have known that it was that close and coming on us.
Technology has definitely gotten better, and but you know, it's nobody's fault. The hurricanes are unpredictable, so they did the best they could. So, is there anything else that you would like to talk about or share about Cameron Parish or about Hurricane Audrey or anything like that?
Well, Cameron Parish is like a sportsman's paradise. You could fish, hunt, and a lot of people moved out because the rules and regulations are hard to build down there right now. There's so many guidelines you got to go by.
Well, that's I really appreciate you letting everyone know the story of how you and your family experienced Audrey, and just everything else. Everything you've said has given me, and I know others, just a better sense of what Cameron Parish was like and is like now. The strength and the human spirit of the people of Cameron is at a very high level, and I appreciate you sharing this. Well, anything else right now that you want to talk about, that you'd like to share?
Everybody gets out now. I don't think anybody drowns for Rita or Laura. Everybody moves out of town.
That's one thing that the hurricanes will do. They'll teach us, and it's the hard way to learn. But yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Elton. I appreciate it, and thank you everyone for watching. As if you've watched the other Audrey videos, you know that this one is the same and also very different. So I hope you're learning something about that storm and about the people that experienced it. So thank you very much for watching. Take care.